Welcome to Get Candid Podcast, a wellness and personal development podcast supporting women on their quest to attain and sustain a healthier, happier lifestyle. I'm your host, Raven Joseph, educator, certified life coach, and Writing to Heal instructor in New York City. Joining us this week to share her wellness journey is food blogger and YouTuber Kay from Made by Kay Kitchen. Welcome, Kay. Tell us how your journey to entrepreneurship began.
So my name is Kay. I'm from the Bronx. I'm 31 years old and I'm on my foodie journey. Something that's new for me. I have a passion, right, for food. It started with cupcakes and this weird obsession with cupcakes. I think cupcakes like just popped up on the map like in the early 2000s. Like nobody had birthday cakes anymore. It was just like cupcakes. And I'm just like, what is this like new, remember it was a time where like people had regular just buttered cakes. And then it went from that to like, how fancy, how fly can you get your birthday cake? And so I was always intrigued by the decor and just the art of, food and pastry. And so I would always say like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And kind of was met with a little, hesitancy and not much encouragement because I think sometimes like in families, especially like in Black families, if you're known for one thing, that's what you do. Like you don't do anything else, right? And I'm like, no, like I genuinely enjoy baking. So long story short, I said, I want to just go into doing food and pastry full time. I think this was 2015. And funny story, I couldn't do cupcakes. I was obsessed with them and I couldn't do them. And I had to default to chocolate covered strawberries.
Why? What happened?
Because baking is a science and it was difficult. Like it was difficult. And I was the girl used to just getting everything on a first try or the second try. And absolutely not. Like if you don't know your proper measurements, if you don't know, what temperature to keep the house so that you can keep your stuff cool, like you're gonna have some sloppy cupcakes. So it was a challenge for me. And so like I went to chocolate covered strawberries, then I came back to cakes and 7 years later, we're here. And it's good. So I'm excited to share my art through my food journey.
So where are you sharing it now? Are you selling products? Because I saw that you're curating events.
Yeah. So I went from trying catering to this ain't for me. Like I'm like, girl, you like baking cupcakes. Nobody said nothing about baking 100 in 2 hours. Like this is not for me. If I had a line of people helping me, maybe. And so I'm just like, the pressure of catering was just like too much. And so I was like, well, I still want to be in the kitchen. So what can I do kitchen related that's going to make me some money? Like being realistic, I'm not a mom. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Like you want to make some millions. So how can you do that realistically with food, but not being a catering service? And then something just sparked with YouTube. And I'm like, well, duh, like YouTube, if you have success on YouTube, you can reach a large audience and digitally you can become successful without ever having to leave your home, right? And so that intrigued me because yes, I do want to leave my home and do all types of great and amazing things, but to start up, that startup that you need, that capital that you need when you're doing like a brick and mortar or catering and need 10 employees, I didn't need that with just doing food blogging. And so I came up with the idea to do food blog. I said, go hard on Instagram. Let Instagram be your first test, right? Let it be, just go in. Stop saying you don't have something, you don't have 100 subscribers on YouTube. Go with what you have. I had a small following on Instagram and I said, lock in. Just post, make it engaging. I realized like I was still doing events, right? And people would like tune in even more when I did events, like because it was like that connection, that bond we began to build. And so I said, you know what? Continue to do events. You love the community, continue to bring the community together. Food and community and events, like they all go together. So it was so effortless once I had like a clear vision of what I should be doing. And so Instagram was the first like test. And I went from like 3,000 followers to like over 5,000 followers within like a year and a half. And it was just like, you could do this. And so I said, all right, next step is YouTube. So we're on YouTube right now. And it's the same formula. Go in, go in, go in. And don't worry about the small stuff. Just be consistent and you'll do well. So that's what we're doing. We're taking our content creating up a notch. Content creation is so welcome now, and it's so celebrated and embraced and encouraged. So I have so much like positivity and just so much excitement going into this just creator mode. Like, you know, I never saw myself being that person, like the influencer, the creator, but that's what I was doing already. It's just like now putting a title on it. So,
right. So are you doing this full time, or are you working and then doing this and hoping to like eventually go towards it?
So I do this full time, but I will keep it a whole stack with you. I'm taking my butt back to work because seriously, it costs money to make money.
Yeah.
And so it's so beautiful that, my fiance sees the overhead in our home so that I get to be a creator, but we need more, and I know me, I've been working since I was 14 years old. So I said, you can apply yourself in a different way. Use that money and amplify your business. You really want to take it to the next level. Sometimes you have to go in, and sometimes going in means going back into the field and just grinding and getting your money up so that you can use that and apply that to your business. And ultimately, I want to be full-time, making my money through digital sales, through ebooks and ads on my website and views from this and that. That's the goal. But to get there, I was like, okay, for like a few years, you was not working because I was always off and on with work. Okay. And then in 2019, I like just resigned from being a teacher for part-time. And I'm just like, just go full throttle. And it worked. Like it really took my business up a notch, but I'm just like, okay, you can't plateau. Like life is about those stepping stones. You need extra. You know how to go get extra. It's okay. It's not a slide back. It's improvement. It's what you need to step it up. So I will be taking my butt back to work.
I did not know you were an educator. How long were you in education for?
Since I graduated high school. So I went to college, Mercy College in Dobbsbury, and studied behavioral science and education. Didn't graduate, long story. But I studied behavioral science and education. And then I got an opportunity to work in Westchester with children with behavioral and social needs. And that was like so eye-opening and just a great experience. It taught me a lot about myself and how to be patient with people. And then fast forward, I started working as a substitute teacher with preschoolers. And that it was for like all these fancy, people and their kids and downtown in Manhattan. And so, posh and their daycares and stuff like that. And it was so cool. It was really, really cool. And so I worked with throughout my career from infants all the way to high school. So between Westchester and working with the preschool, and also kindergarten as well. So it's dope. It's so dope, but the money is not what it should be for educators.
Are you planning on going back into education, or are you going to try another field?
So I definitely want to do the foodie thing full time. I for sure want to be my own boss full time. I want my companies to make money for me. That's the goal. But I've never stopped teaching. Like I started I would say like an organization for young Black women in entrepreneurship called the Black Girl Boss brand. And so I took a pause on that because for Made by K, if I want to be all the way in, I have to be all the way in. But I said, I still love to teach. So that's where I came up with the idea of the cake coach. And that's why I help people with their businesses through that lane. I'm like, oh, it's catchy. It flows with Made by K. And I still get to teach. I've never stopped teaching, literally, never. But I love it. It's part of me.
Yes, that's great. So I just want to switch gears a little bit because I did watch some of your YouTube episodes, and one of your more recent episodes, you talked about healing and trauma, and something that I, as a life coach, I work with people, through writing to heal through trauma. So tell us a little bit about your self-care journey.
Girl, you probably know it goes deep. But to keep it brief, trauma coming from childhood definitely spills over into your adulthood. Most people, including myself, I'm sure everyone, especially in the Black community, we stop growing at the age that we've been hurt. And so for me, what healing looked like was acceptance that the things that you want, it's not going to look the way that you want it. You can still find peace and happiness, but unfortunately, you can't control people. You can't control the past circumstances, things that you were born into. So it's the level of acceptance that has to happen in order for you to move forward. And just being honest, like the bulk of that acceptance came in these last few years for myself. I always knew I wanted different. I always knew I wanted a certain, lifestyle for myself. And I always felt different from my family. But I always included them. Like, you're going to be here and you're going to be there. And sometimes people are on their own paths. And I had to accept that, like, the life you think you're going to have, where like this person's going to be here and your kids is going to be staying with this person. Like, it's nice for people and it's a blessing for people that do have it, but that's not your circumstance. That's not your experience. So what are you going to do with that? Like, so that's it, like, And I said, no, I said, you have to accept. So I went to therapy. I'm in couples therapy right now. And I'm looking actually for another therapist for myself, and just processing, acceptance, committing to my healing, like understanding that this is a requirement. This is not a suggestion. This is not something that, maybe you could do on a Monday. Like, no, you have to heal. And then I believe the self-care comes once you process and you're able to successfully process your trauma. Because even myself, even though I bought self-care books, I watch self-care videos, and in the moment, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling it. But then when I'm home thinking about some type of trauma, or maybe I'm triggered by something someone says, whether it's intentional or unintentional, all of those feelings come up again, and then self-care kind of goes out the window, right? And I think it's like this addiction to pain, or this addiction to the life that you've always had. You don't know anything different. So self-care for me is like being conscious of those moments that can take me out of my good element and put me into like a depression or anxiety or sadness, and just being more open and mindful of those moments, so that those moments don't, knock me off this journey that I'm fighting so hard for. And just not to get too personal, but it's a lot of family stuff, like close family stuff. And, sometimes people have one person that's messed up in the family, or it's like a lot of people, with my situation.
You live in the Bronx, girl. I understand.
You get it fully, and it's very sad. Like, I consider myself an empath, and I feel so deeply for people, so deeply, to the point where I had to start to create boundaries for myself. That was self-care for me. Treat yourself the way that you treat people, and don't allow access to you if people don't know how to handle you, and people don't respect you, and people don't show you love with their actions. All that other talk stuff out the window with your actions. So it's still a journey, for myself. And I think right now, self-care looks more indirect than like direct and actionable things. It's more so like being patient with myself, and positive self-talk, and checking my negative thinking, and praying in the bathtub. So I feel like that is kind of like the prelude to the spa days and the solo dates, and, just getting my mind to a place where I thoroughly enjoy my own company, and I'm not so triggered by past traumatic events, regardless of who comes into my space. So it's a process.
Okay. So when did you decide? Because one thing I thought was so important and that we don't do is consistency when it comes to self-care. So what was a point in your life where you were just like, I really need to make this a priority. It has to be first and foremost.
Girl, I'm still like, just being honest, I'm still, just all honesty, struggling with prioritizing, like, indirectly. Like, if you were to ask me on just a regular day, like, do you care about yourself? Do you love yourself? Like, yeah, sure. Like, but do you? Right? Like, what are you doing? What have you done to show yourself that you love yourself? So consciously, it's like, yeah, I'm taking care of myself. But subconsciously, it's like, no, the things that you've been doing shows that you don't prioritize you. And it's such a battle. Like, I literally battle because, again, a lot of the people around me, they're suffering, right? But a lot of people project their suffering and misery onto me. And as an empath, just learning how to step away from that is such a process in its own. And so I think I'm probably at the end point of the acceptance of it. So I can consciously be more consistent with my self-care. But having those triggers for sure keep me in a subconscious state of not taking care of myself the way that I should. It'd be 3 days that go by like, girl, like, why your hair look like that? Like, why, like, get yourself together. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a process for me. And I think what keeps me going, honestly, I just feel like God has his hand on me. like I really believe that, because there's been so much that has happened, and I just have this inner light that does not go out, that will not go out. It's just this, it's God, like, it's nothing else, you know. I'm a very spiritual person, you know, and I've been through some stuff, and I've gotten back and I've gotten better, and I, you know, get back on the horse. I think about my future children. I think about what they deserve. I think about what I deserve. I think about the best version of me, what I deserve. So that keeps me motivated to, you know, keep going and get out of your funk. And so even if I have to continue to start back at the starting line, as long as I continue, you know, because that is the necessary steps. Before you know it, is like, you're not at the starting line anymore. Now you're in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So just having some type of motivation. I've always seen my life just big and grand and beautiful and happy and joyful. Always see my life like that. So I think in the back of my mind, like, there's something in me that will not allow for me to stop or quit. And I honestly believe that God has just his hand on me, you know, so.
Okay. I believe it. So you said you use food to help you with trauma. How does that look for you? And how might you, like, with events, how do you show others to do the same? What does that look like?
So for one, it's very therapeutic to cook and to bake, you know, when you're in your own environment, when, you know, you're measuring out flour and butter and this and that. Like, they're very tedious, you know, assignments, but it's no rush. You know what I'm saying? Like you're there to do a job, and you spend a lot of time with yourself, you know, whether it's in silence, so you give yourself time to not overthink, right? Because you're focused on an actual project, you're focused on doing something. So it takes me out of, like, I'm an Aries, I'm an overthinker, like 100%. So just to be proactive in doing something in the moment definitely brings me to the present and allows me to get out of my head. So that's such a beautiful part of cooking and baking. Then, you know, you got your music therapy, where you jam into your music while you're doing your cooking, right? Like, you know, songs can literally change your mood. You know what I'm saying? So you got that aspect of it. So I just genuinely enjoy that part. And then also, I feel like food is my love language. I love to nurture. with food. I love for people to like my food. I love for people to enjoy it, to say that, such a beautiful gift. Like, I'm giving you something that will nurture you, so on and so forth. So, and then also if you're making something that's pretty, that's therapeutic because it takes time to create art. And then with events, like, food brings everybody together. Like, I don't really have to try too hard when it comes to, like, my part is being a creative. So it's like, okay, you have to do something creative. You have to do something that someone else is not doing to get people engaged. You need to be like, hey, I'm over here, and I think my challenge was, how can you be more creative than your last event? And I love that part. Like, that's the teacher in me. Like, it's a lesson plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, just putting an event together is like a lesson plan. So seeing the event like come into fruition, that is such like a just satisfying feeling for myself. And just a really, really enjoyable feeling. And then also everything that I do is with purpose and have some type of undertone to support our community.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, no matter what type of event it is. Even if it's just a night on the town with the girls, like, okay, like, it's gonna turn into a therapy session. It always does, Like, when you with the right energies, like, you're doing, well, for me, what I feel like I'm called to do. And I think it's just so natural because that's the environment I want to be in. So naturally, that's the environment I'm going to create. So when I create these events, people leave and say, like, wow, like not, because what it looked like, yes, I'm gonna throw a fly event, but it's like, wow, like, that event made me feel like this. Or, wow, I didn't even know I was going to a brunch and I walked out crying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had people just give me great testimonies on the type of event, and I just feel like I'm a vessel to create these experiences. And I love it. It's a lot of work and it takes money for sure. That's why I don't do them as often. I would love to. But for right now, I'm like, well, whatever I could afford, whatever I could outsource with the community. But that's a whole nother thing as well. Sometimes we're very stingy with each other and just we don't trust each other the way that we should. So I don't do them as often as I would like. But honestly, once the money start rolling in, because I know it will, I don't even want to charge people for events if I don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it to be an open space. Come in, it could be a tax write-off for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, giving a community-based events and let that be a tax write-off. So just that connectivity that is shared between just people who probably don't even understand that they need it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they think they're going in to get some chicken and waffles, or they're going to, just kind of link with me. And you really don't understand, like, the energy once we're all together. We're so powerful if we actually, believe and connect. And so I think I have a gift of, like, something. I don't know what the gift is, but it's like, God is like, do that. It's like, all right, when it come over me, it's like, all right, cool. Like, that's what we're gonna do. And I know He's gonna see me through. And it's been successful so far.
So you've mentioned God a couple of times through the interview. How has your relationship been with Him? And, like, when did that relationship start? And how does He impact your life?
So I would say from a child, you kind of learn what your parents tell you. And as a child, my mom's like, we're Baptists and believe in God and say your prayers and do all that, right? And so I would say my prayers before I ate, the prayer that everybody says. And at one point, we saying prayers before we went to sleep. And, but I think that was learned behavior. And then as I started to be curious about life very, very young, I noticed that, like, I would look out the window and have deep thought. And to be honest, like, when you're talking, like, that's praying. Like, when you're talking to the universe, when you're talking out loud, when you're thinking and asking, like, that's praying. And I don't think I was really conscious of that when I was young. But I'm happy I had it. And as I got older, I kind of drifted away from what I was taught to do, because I don't really think I'm so religious, right? Like, I haven't, like, chosen a religion, but my, like, with God, it's like from very, very young, it's like he got my back, you know, like through it all, he has my back. And I think just having that faith and having hope and having something to believe in, and knowing that if you pray hard enough and if you pray strong enough, that he's gonna come through every time. Like I've had hard moments, but like my faith is the only thing that, like, what else do we have? You know what I'm saying? Like, truthfully, like, you know, people like, I live for my kids. I ain't got no kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I bank on my faith 100%. And I'm happy that that happened now, because we're not supposed to idolize humans. We're not supposed to, you know, put all your love and faith and every single thing into, you know, your man, your kids. Like, you're not supposed to do that, because humans will fail you, you know, like that's just life. So I think from a young age, I've been very connected to the sensitive part of myself, which I think is my spirit. I think I have a strong spirit. I know I have a strong spirit. So I definitely seen how that has manifested throughout my life over the years. And I've been more vocal with the language. Back in the day, I probably wouldn't have talked about it when I'm 12, 13, 14. But I'm clear. Like, I'm clear it's my spirituality. I'm clear it's God. I'm clear it's my faith. And I do feel like that keeps me positive. You know, if you believe in just worldly things, I don't think you can stay positive, because it's so volatile. It's always up and down. It's always going to disappoint you. That's the way that the world is, right? It's yin and yang, it's half and half. But with God, it's like, it's always just like this beautiful energy. Like when I pray, even going through a hard time, when I pray, I feel relieved. Like, that's beautiful kinetic energy. When I do something, and just knowing that, like, look, having that belief and that faith, like, that's energy, like all that energy. And to me, it's like, what else is that? You know? So people need to have some faith. And I'm not the person to push God on anybody. I know his work. I'm just saying, try it and see how mountains can be moved in your life, when you just kind of just let go and just allow him to, you know, to live through you, to use you, to help you. God is here to help us. My faith is just, I don't know, I'm a walking testimony through all the trials and tribulations. Amen. You know?
So,
like, whole preaching session in here.
I'm here for it. So with your relationships, like, how does that look in terms of self-care? Like, besides God, like, who else do you like? Who's your top 5?
What you mean top? Oh, like influences, like
in your life that you can turn to. Like, how has relationships or friendships or mentorships helped you to get to where you are now?
So for one, for sure, I've been blessed to have really, really good teacher relationships. Teachers always was like, she's special, and they would give me that like extra time or extra care. And that's why I think I love like teachers have good hearts. Like, you got to be in it. Most of us, you got to be.
To say, Kay, you've been out the classroom for a little bit, Kay.
Right. Well, you know, a lot of us. I say that, a lot of us. So I've been blessed throughout the years to have like teachers invest their time into me, like time that they didn't have to, like after school, before school, on the weekend. Teachers just really, and I never understood why. Like, it was just like, oh, they want to, and I used to feel like y'all picking on me, like, why y'all so hard on me, or why y'all so, you know, but it's because they saw something in me and they wanted to nurture me. So there's a few teachers that for sure, like, I'm so appreciative of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just seeing my worth and me being able to be myself, you know, with them, and them encouraging just that part of me that needs to blossom. Teachers for sure. With, I would say, what else would I say? I would say my oldest sister as well. Like, she for sure was like, do you, boo? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was that person. She was just like, well, whatever you on, I'm on. Like whatever you trying to do, I'm trying to do. I was 14 years old telling her like, look, we're going to do this. We're going to throw this party. We're going to sell this at this. And, and she like, all right, what you need? The house? Like, she was just like always down. She's like the baker in the family. Like she used to make cakes at 2 a.m. and wake me up. I'm thinking it's pancakes. And then no, it's chocolate cake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm staying over her house, so I definitely got like that baking, like she just showed love through her food, and so I definitely got that from like my sister. So my sister for sure. I would say also, who else? Like with friends, I wouldn't say friends, but I would for sure say like there are entrepreneurial associates that I've had, right? And that I would like going into, God willing, this next phase of my life, my 30s, build on that, right? I had a bad habit of, these are my friends. I'm not going outside of it. Like I'm staying with these people and I ain't friends with none of them. Like, right? We all outgrown each other.
Yeah.
But I will say like my entrepreneur gang, like because we understand what we go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's probably more than 5 people, but just a few from the different walks of, of my life that they encourage me to honor like that side of me that's the best of me. Like it's certain people that can tell when I'm not my best self. Mm-hmm. Like they can literally say like, hey, like, I haven't seen this. Like, we got to get you on the map. Like I have a lot of male friends too, who's like in the industry and they always like, where you at with it? Yeah. And so, all right, let me get myself together, so I'm always grateful for those people who like want to pull the best out of me. Cause sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you do have your down moments, so having people believe in that side, because it's easy to believe into, just the homegirl or the girlfriend, but believe in your grandness, like your greatness, that part of you. It takes a very secure and loving energy, like to want to pull that out of someone, and so I'm always appreciative when people check in when I'm not the K that everybody see, because it really, really pushes me forward. And I do feel like, I'm brought to people and people are brought to me for a reason. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
So tell us more about your coaching and what you're doing, like what services you're providing, so we can understand, the audience can understand like how to reach you or how they can work with you.
Yeah. So what I do basically is I help entrepreneurs get to the next level of their business, going from the ground, going from idea, going from hobby to hustle. Like that's literally my first, line of action. Most of the people that I work with are young women, young Black women, or young women of color, Black and Hispanic. And having my first business in 2011, a lip gloss line. Girl, I don't even do makeup like that. Like, I'm
you
like,
gotta start somewhere. You have to.
Cute. I want to do this. But I've learned so much, right? And I've always been the type, like I love giving game. Like that's just what I like to do. So having like that experience, I noticed that a lot of people will come to me. And so I'm like, all right, well, I can help people. And I'm like, well, you need to get clear about who you're helping, right? I help people that are willing, first and foremost. There's a lot of people who want success and they're not willing to do the work required, right? Like there are people who work, right? But there's a certain level of work. There's a certain type of work. There's a certain requirement that is needed for you to act. Like, you don't get mad at me because IRS is asking for this and you got to do this for your LLC. That ain't me, So I need people who thoroughly understand that whatever you're doing, it's a process and you have to be willing to actually complete the process that's required. So for sure, people who are willing and who are not in victim mode. Like I get really, really like I'm cool, but I don't need you dumping on me if we're trying to work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a time and a place for everything. Like, if we,
I feel like you have a story behind that. Do you care to share?
Ooh, child. I have a few stories, honestly, because I was in a coaching group myself, right? And in the coaching group, I believe one of the coaches said, business is like the greatest test of self. And it's true because it's going to pull at all parts of you, parts that you don't even want to deal with right now, that you have to, things that make you uncomfortable, but you have no choice. You said you want this, right? You said you want to be successful. And so what would happen is with me, I'm the type of person, I'll probably suck my teeth, but I'm gonna do it, right? I'll probably roll my eyes. I'll probably sit down an extra 5 minutes, but I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna get mad at anybody. I'm just like, all right, I ain't planning on doing all that, but I'm gonna do it. Then you have people like, I don't wanna do that, but you wanna go to the next step. Yes. So you don't wanna do the work to go? No. Like, and it's like, and I've had conversations with, a few young women where they were in like a mode or a funk or a bratty mode, or like, look, listen, I don't speak against that, because I have my moments as well. Process what you need to process. And when you're ready to get the work, then you call me. So working with people who are mentally and emotionally prepared, and people who have done a little bit of the research, because I think also in our community, a lot of us really get upset with each other and not the rules and regulations. You know what I'm saying? And it's so like, sometimes I'm like, do you know what is required? Do you know, like, it would be people, I remember when I used to attempt to sell cupcakes, and it would be like, oh, why are you charging this? Do you know how much this costs and this costs and this costs? And like, I don't have a factory to make, like, if you look on the back of a cupcake box in a supermarket, you're gonna see methazine and proracazine and all these like, what? Cupcakes is flour, butter, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, so they're in a laboratory making some shit that they could charge you $2 for. You know what I'm saying? And whereas with me, it's like people get mad at me for the process. So I want to, like, everybody can't go. That's what I've learned. You have to work with people that are willing. You have to stop, because I used to try that empath in me. They will run all over you. And then it would get to a place where they don't respect you. And then they blame you. Girl, the Lip Black Foodie competition, I had people blaming me. I was very thorough with my documentation, extremely thorough, just because I knew what was at stake and what we were doing. And again, that teacher in me, I had 10-page documents before anybody put any money down. I gave people opportunities to have conversations with me, phone conferences, Zoom calls. I did a group Zoom call. Like, I made sure, like, this part, because I knew people were investing their time and their money, and I wanted to make sure that I did my part. When they were, I don't know if they didn't make money. Listen, you are your brand. I cannot make money for you. All I can do is what I said I was going to do. Did I not check off every box? I checked off every box. Were you not aware of what I was offering or what I was asking for or requiring? Everything was written. That's why I love contracts. Everything is written. There's like, so sometimes people have a hard time looking into themselves. Like, they need somebody to blame, and what we're not doing in 2022 is blaming me for something. If you need help, I can definitely guide you to the appropriate people so that you can get the help that you need, so that we can get on that journey to get your business popping, right? But we got to be realistic with ourselves. So when I do coaching, I had to get real with myself. I need people who understand that there is a process and that they are going to do what's required of them, even if it's a little tough, even if it's a little uncomfortable. We're not going to get upset with me because I'm not Uncle Sam. I am not New York.gov. I don't make the rules. You know what I'm saying? If you need 2 and 3 licenses to be a food truck person, then that's not, like, why you mad at me? You know what I'm saying? So I for sure, I love everybody who wants to start a business. but you really have to look into yourself a little bit before you seek coaching to know that, yep, this is what I'm signing up for, and this is what I'm ready and willing and capable of doing. So if you ready, if you on that type of time, then we can talk. And, you know, just getting you from there, getting all the basics out the way, all the standardized stuff out the way, especially in food, but not just food, coaching, education, fashion design, like all those types of like industries. Like I have friends everywhere and mentors everywhere. And just this 12, 13 years of experience being, you know, in the business world, it's like, you need it, I got it, but you got to be willing to take the first step.
So the Little Black Foodie event, is that an annual event? Are you going to do it again? What's that about?
Yeah. So all right. So Lit Black Foodie, it was in person, and I'm just like, okay, it got to be in the Bronx. It got to be a Bronx, like, you know, vibe. Like, just gotta, you know, I gotta be lit. Like that's the whole point of this event, you know, to be a cultural fire event for us, by us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was last year in April, and I said I want to do one every year, right? I am supposed to be moving out of state. And I'm like, okay, well, if I do another one, are we going to do it in Atlanta? Are we going to do it in Miami? Because those are the two places that I want to go next, Miami and Atlanta, to do an event. And so now I'm thinking like, okay, my thing is right now, the prize, the grant that is given at the end of the competition is $1,500. I need to be able to outsource that money, right? So just realistically, that's what that is, right? I can do all the work, right? I could do all the background work and all that stuff. It was a beautiful event. Event was gorgeous, great. The space that we had, it like everything was perfect. The only issue was getting the funds, because I, like, you know, as much as I would love to, like we paid the like out of pocket for that grant, like out of pocket, because the person who was the project manager, she was a friend at the time and decided to, you know, something, we wasn't speaking anymore, and there goes my project manager. So yeah, so we wound up having to, and it's not her fault technically, but we wound up having to pay out of pocket for that $1,500 grant, my fiance to be like exact. But the beautiful thing was the experience. Like I got to show the world what I could do, like damn near by myself, right? Aside from my fiance's help, like it was me on that laptop doing the documentation, going to see the spots, you know, sourcing people, writing people. You know, my fiance, he always comes through. He's like the assistant, you know how we date entrepreneurs, they're like your sous chef, your assistant, your photographer, your this, your that. So he really was like hands-on, but that was a big event. That's the type of event that like 5 and 6 and 7 people work on, like an actual organization work on. And I think because I've done events so consistently in the past, and then also have the education thing, I think I knew what to do and how to do it in far event, like, you know, enough time and all that stuff. So I would love to do another one this year in the fall. That's the goal, to do something this October or November. But it gotta make sense, because also I still have to get paid for what I'm doing, right? Because even nonprofits, like my dad was a director for, or is a director for a nonprofit for the last like 10, 15 years. He gets paid very well. And I say nonprofit. So just because something is nonprofit, that don't mean you don't get paid. Right. You're doing a job, right? So I still would like to get paid, even though my efforts are for the community. There are many organizations that their efforts are for the community and they get paid salaries. You know what I'm saying? So I have to kind of get out of my head with that and just kind of lock in with sourcing grants. I did, with a couple of Bronx organizations, sign up for some grants, and I think I'm going to be more proactive with that. But for sure, if we don't do one in person this year, we did go hybrid. and I do want to do an online competition where people submit their videos, and we're gonna have like different prizes. So one of the prizes I want to give out is like that Ninja Home thing. It's like an air fryer, and grill, and this and that, and or like a bulk prize, like an actual Ninja blender, and then the Ninja Home, like some fire shit that's like worth $500 or something like that. Something that makes people excited to continue to create their art. So as long as we get the funding, we can continue to move forward with the event. It was a beautiful event. I would love to do both. I would love to do an online one where we could give away like some type of dope appliance or kitchen set or something. And then also the money comes, and then we do one in the fall time. Like,
so it's a competition with food? Is it? Okay.
So it's a food showcasing competition.
Okay.
And I was very clear about that also, because we can't really judge on just the food itself because we're not in a kitchen, right? Like in order to have, I had, I think 14 participants, and they each had 2 6-foot tables. So you can't be in no kitchen like that. Like that's a what do you call that? Not a stage. I forgot to get the word, but like that's a whole setup, like something like that you'll see on Food Network or whatever. And now, to be honest, that's why I did it, because you don't really see, like, you do see black people on the Food Network, but like cultural things, like deep in the culture, like that we can relate to and resonate to. I told the DJ, like, lit music all night. Like, this is no boring stuff. Like, we gonna turn this up, like, and that's something I've never seen before. Also, it's so hard to get onto stuff like that. Like, you have to have an agent or be a part of some type of casting this and all of this other stuff. And I respect the work and the work ethic, but there's a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to television. So my promise, right, was that you were going to get a grant, right, which is very hard. My promise was we were going to be featured in magazines and a feature on television, which we did. My promise was you're going to get to showcase your stuff, network with people. Like, I wanted to give them everything that I felt that I would want as a and it was dope. So we had pastry and savory, right? And I did it like that because it was more food showcasing as opposed to like actual cooking. So it was the experience. And the woman who won, the young lady who won, she won, honestly, her points came from the moment you walked in, your eyes was drawn to her table. She hired a professional artist to create a painted backdrop of a bodega from the Bronx or some botanical.
I love it.
Like, she went in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, I know anybody was gonna come like that. Like, and she really, really put her on. This is what I mean. Like, we are special, right? And there were others, right, who were very creative. Like, I think I had the best pound cake, best bite of my life. Shout out to Deja Bakes. I'm not sure if it was her who made the pound cake, but I got it at her table. So best pound cake that I had like some jerk chicken egg rolls. Like, we are so talented, like, as a collective. And if I can use my talents, my gifts to create experiences that would showcase people that 9 times out of 10, you probably thought, like, I literally had people that were very successful caterers telling me, like, I can't do that. I'm not prepared for that. I'm not, mind you, this is 5 months before the event. Wow. They're and I'm just like, no, you can do that. You are doing that technically every day in your job, like in your business, not your job. And I said to myself, we're not given these opportunities like water. They're not consistent. And that's why when I come, it's like, wow, she's doing this. Like, no, this is what we all need to be doing. Yeah. Like, we all need to be creating experiences or being a part of experiences that, like, we are the sauce. Like, people don't understand that. Like, we're the sauce.
Yeah.
Literally everything. We are the sauce. And so I move like that. I move like I know, because I am the sauce that I am. but so are you, and so are you, and so are you. And so I think a big part of who I am and my brand is just that motivation through just talking, like, just because it's the truth. Like, I don't have to lie. I don't got to front. I don't got, like, if you would see some of like the people that I follow and that I know personally, like, they stuff look way better and tastes way better than the person down the block. But the person down the block has resources. And so their resources got them a bakery. Their resources got them a restaurant. Meanwhile, y'all sitting home with the best food I ever had, the best pound cake I ever tasted, but nobody can really taste your stuff because you don't have the resources. And even the ones who try, even the ones who go for it and take their business to the next level, they're always met with so many obstacles, so many. I could see me being a person like that. It's like, damn, like, that's why you discouraged and sitting back. Meanwhile, person down the block getting a $50,000 grant from they pops or they moms. I remember somebody asked me one time, your mom can't just give you a loan, or your mom and dad can't just give you a loan. I remember another time me being in a cab twice, 2 separate occasions, 2 separate nationalities, these men, not Black. One of them was like, why did you drop out of school? You're too intelligent. You're articulate. Like, he was like roasting me. And I'm just like, I didn't have it. Yeah. Like, I didn't have the money for school. I tried to apply. When I did apply, I had no established credit. They were not giving me a loan. And grants, my mom worked and made the amount of money she made. So they said she could pay for it. And unfortunately, she couldn't pay for it. Mm-hmm. And so the guy was like, well, where's your father? Where's this person? He's like, I paid for all of my kids' colleges, even if it was community college. Like, but that's how they think. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to get it. Then the other guy of another nationality, he's like, you know, you're a really smart young lady. What do you have going for yourself? Do you have this? Do you have that? And I'm just like, I'm trying, I'm working. He's like, no, someone should be investing into you. He's like, I paid for 3 of my daughter's weddings. I'm like, oh, damn. Like, you know, and I don't want to put fault on anyone, because I'm clearly aware of the life and the experiences of Black Americans. Like, clearly we had it way different than everybody else. So I'm not knocking anyone for anything they couldn't do, right? But it's a new day. It's a new day with no excuses. We have resources. We have each other. We are the highest. What is it? The highest. I don't want to misquote, but we spend the most money, basically. It was a fancy way. Yes. Like, and it's like, okay, we spend the most money, but it's clear as day we don't spend it with each other. Like, you know, and so I've had people, you know, cool as shit with me. No, I do X, Y, Z. And they just, it's like a mental block. Like, so I feel like now we're in a space of putting on for each other. I feel like now more than ever, we're collaborating, right? And yes, we still have those people out there that's like not with it, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. We just need to continue to buddy up with the ones that are making a difference and that are, and on the way, if you get inspired and you want to join the line, then come on in. If you never want to join the line, then so be it. But I'm just so happy that like we're finally in a space, because imagine 2011 having my first business. They're like, oh, you sell lipstick? Oh, for who? Mary Kay? No, it's my lip gloss line. No, for like Avon, right? No, for like, no, I get that you're doing it, but like who owns it? Me, I have paperwork.
Yeah.
To where now, fast forward, everybody coming out with a business. Mm-hmm. So we are for sure progressing as a community. And I feel like I can't take on everything, but I could play my part. And whatever that is, if it's an event, then it's an event. If it's going on live and telling people a piece of my story that will influence them or inspire them, then I'm gonna do that. Whatever I feel like I'm called to do, because that little fire thing that's inside of me, that's what gets the job done. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's time to go. So I'm saying, spark something, time to go, and I could see the difference being made, for sure. I could see the response, and it feels so good, but we have such a way to go.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy.
It's a marathon.
Yeah, but I can't burn myself out. So I'm gonna sit for a second, or stop, or walk, or slow down, drink some water, or and then start running again, because we've been running a marathon for a long time. While everybody else just got in a race with all their energy, we've been tired and run down, so we got to regroup, reset, and connect with this like-minded energy so that we can continue to be great without burning ourselves out and tiring ourselves out, because I don't think God wants that. I think God wants us to enjoy the fruit of our labor.
Agreed. Thank you very much for joining us today to discuss your wellness journey. Would you like to share with our listeners where they can find you?
Made by K Kitchen everywhere. Made by K Kitchen on Twitter, Made by K Kitchen on YouTube, Made by K Kitchen on Instagram.
And do you email? Is the same thing?
Yep, madebykitchen@gmail.com, and madebykitchen.com coming soon. Our website will be dropping very,
awesome.
Thank you so much, Soul Tribe, for tuning in this week to Get Candid Podcast. If anything that you've heard on this episode resonates with you, feel free to reach out to us via email at getcandid@candidsoulco.com, and make sure you follow us on Instagram at GetCandidPod. Take care.